should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time!
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah!
I finished these fights.
Give me a hell yeah!
Top Rope Nation.
Learn to love it. It's the best thing going today.
A marathon week has come to a conclusion. Well, kind of. I guess we got Raw tomorrow night, but WrestleMania 37 officially now history. Both nights in the books. Top Rope Nation, episode 204. Here to break it all down for you. My name's Ryan Drosty. I got three great guests on the line with me this evening. Actually, two of them are my usual co-hosts. One great guest on the line who I will introduce here momentarily. But just like last night, we're streaming on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. So wherever you're at, let us know what you thought of WrestleMania 37 night 2 tonight. We'll try to get your comments included on the show as we go. And Mr. Kyle Ross making your return. You were here with me last night. How you doing this evening? You a few drinks in? Did you take it easy tonight?
No, I've had 0 drinks
today.
Believe it or not. I'll probably change that over the course of the show. As I texted you earlier today, shot number 2 had me feeling a little weird for a while this afternoon, but you knew I was going to show up. I've never no-showed a booking before.
I am very, very happy, Kyle. Not only to hear that you're feeling well and that you could join us, but I'm very happy that you brought that up because I was going to ask you, how are you feeling from your second COVID shot? And then I was going to ask, is this going to have to be the second flu pod?
There we go.
I had it ready to go. The second flu pod in Top Rope Nation history. Was I going to have to carry you through this? But no, you're feeling good.
Look at that face.
It's beautiful.
Be that not just tremendous. Justin Joint's idea there, by the way.
That's what I looked like about 3 p.m. Eastern today.
That's what I look like when it's I haven't watched wrestling all week and midnight almost. So yes, the flu pod, not so much. You're feeling good. That's good. I'm glad you're fully vaccinated. We're getting closer to reuniting the pod in person. And Justin Joint also back with us here, our usual third man on Top Rope Nation. You weren't able to join us last night. I know you watched night 1. Eager to get your takes tonight. How are you feeling tonight? How are you doing?
Feeling good. Ready to go. WrestleMania weekend, man. Let's go.
Absolutely. And joining us as the guest tonight, we had 2 great guests last night. We got a new guy tonight actually making his debut on Top Rope Nation. Now, me and him have talked for couple of years now, I want to say, on Twitter. We've known each other for a while, but never got him on the show, so I was glad that we were able to work this out. Mr. Michael Wiseman from Wrestling Inc. Mike, how's it going tonight?
Going great. Great to be here. Thank you all for having me. Great to meet you, Kyle. Great to meet you, Justin and Ryan. It's actually awesome to do something with you after being Twitter friends for quite some time and hanging out in the same circles, same people, journalists, wrestling, Twitter, all that jazz.
Absolutely.
It was actually our goal to beat the length of the Johnny Depp-inspired WrestleMania intro. That's our goal on the show. We wanted to go longer than that for sure.
It was a bit.
You got it. Well, almost, yeah, right.
Yeah. Guys, if you have never listened to Top Rope Nation, weekly podcast, we've been doing this since 2016. If you're listening to the podcast version, please subscribe wherever you're getting your podcast. And if you're here with us live tonight on YouTube, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video. There's 1,000 live post shows probably going on right now. So the more likes we can get on this video, the better to increase our reach, for this post show with WrestleMania 37. So what we like to do right off the bat is grade the show. We did this last night. We were very high on what we saw with WrestleMania night 1. I was very high on WrestleMania night 1. I gave the first grade last night, so I'm going to throw it around the horn first and see where you guys come in, and I'll go last. Kyle Ross, A through F, what do you give night 2 of WrestleMania 37?
I'll go the exact same, B.
B?
I think it was pretty comparable. I, of course, reserve the right to change these grades.
Yes.
At any point in the rest of my life.
Or start grading on a curve as I have to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Michael, what do you give it?
Man, I don't know. I didn't get to grade last night. I probably would have given last night. I would have given last night an A. I think B's a little bit harsh. I think I'm coming in at a B plus because that first hour was a little bit touch and go. But I don't know. I think from 9 to 11 Eastern time, that was an A show to me. I just think the front end of it brought it down just a smidge.
Mm-hmm. Justin,
there's certainly stuff I do not like about the show tonight. On the plus side, the stuff I didn't like is fuel for comedy fodder for us to make fun of. But I'd say anytime you finish a wrestling show and you could point to, and this is me personally, 3 matches that I'm ready to rewatch right now, that's a pretty good wrestling show. So I can't go any lower than an A minus.
ooh, very nice.
I have a question though. Do we grade on a curve, what I call the Hulk Hogan curve, which is any show with Hulk Hogan gets dropped down a few letter grades by association, right?
That's true.
All right, y'all.
Yes.
I mean, we gotta, anyway.
Where would I be? All right. I've been kind of debating this because I didn't like the opening of the show, as we're going to get into, at all. But then I agree with Michael. Like that middle part of the show, it was very, very good. There's a lot of ebbs and flows of this. It was low, then it was high through the middle, then it dipped again, and then I liked the main event for the most part. I think I'm going to give it a B minus tonight. I'll come in at a B minus. I gave last night an A. B minus for me on this one.
I'm going to go B minus because I refuse to let anyone actually have a lower grade than me on any grading system. I told you I reserved the right to change.
The personalities now. Which one of you is the Scrooge of the group, and which one of you is the nice guy? Every podcast has the tough salesman, right? Yeah.
It's usually Kyle is the lowest grade for us, but I was very negative on the beginning of that show, so it's going to make it hard for me to give this much higher than that. Greg's lower though. Greg in the chat on YouTube, C plus. He says, other than whatever the F that Fiend match was, there needed to be some kind of jolt. No big surprises. Needed one more thing to just lead into tomorrow night. That's Greg, longtime supporter.
I like how you can type curse words on this app. Good stuff. That's a very high grade from Greg, by the way. A C plus.
Yeah, a friend of Kyle's, so you would know.
Mm-hmm.
Rich B, he enjoyed night too. If you're in the chat, if you're watching, wherever you're at, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter as well, through Periscope, let us know, comment, and we'll get you included on the air.
What does it take to get an A on this show? Like, y'all are some tough critics. Like, what is
we are
an
very
A show?
tough. Hey, we're objective. I gave it an A. Hey, like I said, I gave it an A last night, so I was feeling good last night.
I don't know, man. I've seen A wrestling shows before. I don't think that I don't think you should give a lot of A's. It's just like when people have like 40 matches in a year rated 4.5 stars. Time to rework the system, pal.
Okay, I want to clarify my A minus, especially considering my 2 co-hosts' haterade rating of a B minus.
Haterade, here we go.
If this exact show was like in the Thunderdome with
Thunderdome. I love it.
Thunderdome.
That would be better, actually.
Yes.
With all the monitors and just the people, I would grade it lower. But it gets a big bump for me with the atmosphere and the lighting and the fireworks and just the entire extravaganza.
And Alexa Bliss having black goo pour out of her face.
Oh, dear
Love
God. Dear God.
Look out, my thing's about ready to yell. Hold on. Oh, it didn't. The Alexa.
Oh, yes. Got to put that on mute. Michael Jenkinson, patron of the show. Michael Jenkinson, B plus. He enjoyed the show. Yeah, I
have to mention him later.
I didn't think it was bad by any means. For me, like a B minus is a good wrestling show. I just feel like it wasn't as good as night one, and I gave night one an A, so it's definitely below that. And the beginning of the show really soured me a lot. Like it took me a while to get back into it because of the beginning, because I was so upset about the beginning. If you followed me on Twitter, you know why. So B minus is about the best I can do. But let us know in the chat what you all think. We're actually going to start with the main event because it was kind of a shocking finish. Going in, if we were doing our prediction show, we could talk about they could have gone a number of directions here, but it's the last match of the night. It's WrestleMania. Kyle, you were shocked, and I know you got something to say. So let's start with this main event.
No, I don't think I was shocked per se. It was pretty ballsy to have Roman pin both guys at once because, we were talking about last night in the wake of Lashley McIntyre, where do you go next with the title? Like, who's the next logical? Are they just going to kind of like hand wave that finish away and still have Drew be the number one contender or what? Like, there is a real argument out there, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. Have they booked Roman Reigns too strong over the last 8 months? Because who do they got? Like, as the match was coming to its conclusion, and I want to hear what you guys have to say, I was thinking, all right, Roman's probably going to pin Bryan, and then they're going to come back with Roman Edge as a single, maybe at this WrestleMania Backlash show. But I don't know. I mean, my God, you just had a heel pin two guys at once. It's an interesting path forward, I think, on this side of the WWE ledger.
Yeah, Michael, where do you think they go from here? And what did you think of that finish?
I loved the match. I loved the finish. I thought it felt epic in a way that only a major company like WWE can deliver on, with just these huge names, huge backstory, the biggest stage. Like, it hit all the marks for me, right? And I think you could have gone with Edge winning and it would have felt special for a very different reason. But to Kyle's point there, they've been booking Roman Reigns so strong for so long, and it kind of got lost in the mix of this Daniel Bryan Edge competition for who's going to get the spot at WrestleMania. I think they took the focus off of Roman for a hot minute there. Maybe that was by design, but I did like the fact that it kept Roman strong coming out of this, because I thought they were going to go the route of Edge pins Bryan, and Roman he took the L, but he doesn't look weak in defeat, right? So I'm really happy with this. I think it played out perfectly. I think I don't know if you guys are going to break down the entire match, but there's a lot of cool stuff in it. But I think that, to your point about where do we go with Roman next, I think they're saving him for something special, right? I mean, I don't know if it is another mega match with Brock Lesnar, which feels played out to me at this point. I don't know if we're going to go, Bobby Lashley Lesnar in the future. I saw somebody tweet out that I follow, Bobby Lashley Lesnar Roman in a triple threat. Or are we going towards this mega Roman Rock match next year at Mania, and they're going to keep Roman strong till then? I don't know, but I think from a business perspective, Roman is the hottest he's ever been. He has the most interest, right? And organic interest, not forced corporate WWE interest, the most organic interest he's had ever in his run. And I think keeping the belt on him right now was the right call, because I don't know who challenges him next, but he still has something special about him that has not been broken yet. And that's cool.
Justin, how about you? What do you think?
I mean, besides from maybe Sasha Banks or Bianca Belair, he is by far and away, and has been since the summer, the best thing going in WWE, the most interesting thing going. And, I certainly don't think he's been booked too strong. He just, quote unquote, tapped out to Daniel Bryan at the last pay-per-view. He had to beat Kevin Owens by kind of underhanded means in their series of matches. But the finish I thought was incredibly ballsy. Let's keep Roman Reigns strong. Let's keep him going. I didn't really have much of an interest in, nor do I think there is a real need to put the title on Edge. He seems to me more of like a special attraction right now. Let's keep the belt on the guys that are probably going to be here for a while. An argument could maybe be made for putting it on Daniel Bryan, but that doesn't seem all that interesting at this point.
Look, I think we all know Roman is the long-term, top guy on SmackDown. So, to both of your point, if you did a detour with either of the other two guys winning here, we all know where it's going back eventually.
Sure.
So, I didn't have a problem per se with the finish, and it was a very good match as well. And I think there's a strong argument that Roman still should be the champion based on what we just said. Mm-hmm. I just wonder if it's going to be like you get to a point where no one believes the heel champion's going to lose. You got to, I get this whole thing of, you want to keep Roman strong, but there's a lot of time between these big shows. And it's like, there's 12 months to the next WrestleMania. We all think that they're going to want him to work with Rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do the other 11 months and 30 days with this guy? So I think hopefully there is some semblance of a plan. I know there's one guy a lot of people would like to see in there, feud on top with Roman, but we shall see. I think there is a bit of an argument that maybe you've booked this guy so overwhelmingly strong that no one's going to buy him as losing. anytime soon.
It's interesting because I think you're like, it's Roman is a week-to-week champion, which is what makes him different than some of the previous attraction champions, right? Like Brock Lesnar, Bill Goldberg, they were the big names. Brock Lesnar, the big heel that nobody could conquer. He wasn't on TV every week. Roman Reigns is, right? Roman Reigns has Paul Heyman in his side like Brock did, but Roman Reigns got to cut a promo every week or deliver a match. And I think, Kyle, to your point, that's what makes him different. I think we're talking about a mega match in the future with Roman. What I would like to see, you asked me where I thought we could go with this. I would like to see a guy like Biggie. Biggie lost the IC title tonight. At some point, as a babyface, he's got to have that big win over the big heel. And maybe SummerSlam's too soon, but damn, you put him in there with Roman Reigns and he conquers the guy that's been invincible for a year at that point. It makes Biggie's babyface win feel that much bigger because he finally did it. But the previous long runs, like CM Punk, right? He had this over a year long reign, but he went from a good guy to a bad guy in the span of that title run. And I don't think it ever felt too long, and he had some big matches, but Roman is kind of the same guy every week, and I think that's the challenge around booking him right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my thought too, is where they would go out of this. I almost wondered, are we going to get a Brock appearance here at the end or something like that? Really crazy to send the crowd home happy, getting that big moment or something, but we didn't get that, obviously. And I think they're saving that for months down the line. And to Kyle's point, yeah, you got 11 months. What's he going to do? I mean, they could do something with Cesaro. I know he just lost to Cesaro, but Rollins Reigns could be interesting in a few months. I don't think you do it right now. Big E, I think, is the ultimate destination as far as like a dream babyface heel match that they could do at a SummerSlam. I think that should be the working plan for SummerSlam. I think they can make that happen.
And the Edge stuff isn't over either. They can get a couple more pay-per-views out of Edge and Reigns.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, I'm going to say something. Maybe I should, but I'm going to say it. So, no, this is good. I think it's going to back up what we were just saying.
Famous last words, huh?
Yes. There are a lot of people in WWE. Vince McMahon, unfortunately, is not one of them, that thought Big E should have won the Rumble and been in this match against Roman Reigns. So he has support. Unfortunately, it's not from the number one guy in the one who matters ultimately. So I hope that's where they go. And Michael said something that kind of made me actually rethink my original thought when it's like, okay, well, when he does lose, you want it to be Roman. That is, you want it to be this huge thing, right? You don't want him, whatever baby face he makes, you want it to be this huge, almost promotion shifting moment. So if it is going to be something like Biggie, you do want to have Roman as strong as possible when he takes that 1L. It's just, I think they're going to have a challenge keeping him interesting on a week-to-week basis. So it's going to be very fascinating to watch that play out on SmackDown over the next couple months.
So do we want to deep dive on the match itself right now? Do we want to come back to it? Or do you want to talk about the structure of the match right now? I'll kind of leave it up to you guys, but I thought it was a very good match. I thought, the women's match, I was very much looking forward to that. This followed the women's match, but I didn't think the women's match really hit. We'll come back to that one here in a little bit. Then there was that lull where it was like a big delay till we got to the main event. And then they got there and they heated it up again. I thought they had an excellent outing. I thought seeing Edge get that moment, despite the heelish antics in recent weeks, Edge makes his entrance. The crowd goes ape shit for him. He got an awesome WrestleMania moment, which, for a guy who went through what he did to come back, get that big pop at the Rumble last year, and then basically work in front of nobody for months, get injured, work back, work in front of nobody again for a couple of months, to see him get the WrestleMania moment out there in front of 25,000 people, I thought that was pretty awesome. But and the match itself, any call outs you guys have to anything you noticed in there that you wanted to talk about? Other than the pinfall, obviously, that we had already mentioned. Michael, you mentioned some of the spots that you wanted to talk about.
I rewatched the WrestleMania 20 main event. I can't mention his name, but I'll say it. Chris Benoit, Shawn Michaels, HBK.
As we often say. Yeah.
Right, that's right. Because I thought the dynamic here felt similar, right? The kind of the technician specialist, the more standard, prototypical Triple H, Roman Reigns comparison there. Edge coming in as kind of that HBK role. And it was a fun rewatch, but there were some similarities, right? The crossface is an obvious comparison, the tap out moment, right? The hand falling down and all that stuff. And I was really glad I did that because it prepped me for this. But I thought that like there was some really fun spots. The thing that I like the most, and this is irritates me in pro wrestling when they don't think about psychology of no DQ matches, but they had Jey Uso involved from the get-go, right? Out the gate, he was involved, and Edge took him out as part of that story. And it was really cool because they had a reason for getting him off a ringside. But then later on, when he showed back up again, it had that moment of impact that like, oh crap, he's back. I wasn't expecting that. And I just want to call attention to that detail because I thought that was something that gets overlooked a lot of times in WWE matches is they just kind of like.
Uh-oh, do we lose Michael?
Oh, no.
Oh, no, he's frozen.
Hey, unfreeze.
Unfreeze him. Unfreeze him.
My mouth.
We're doing this live, pal. All right. Well, while we wait for Michael to come back, Justin, I saw a little jolt of excitement go through your body when he mentioned the crossface spot. I think.
No.
That's just what he's sitting on, by the way.
It was when you started talking about WrestleMania 20 and the comparisons to this one. I just kind of want to take a peek at the alternate universe where Triple H drapes Chris Benoit over HBK and pits both of them.
Oh my God.
Okay.
1 year after WrestleMania 19. Can you imagine?
All right.
Oh.
All right. Honest question. Does Madison Square Garden burn if that happens?
Yes. I think it does.
Second question. Do I drive from Cleveland, Ohio to New York City to burn it? If that had happened. I mean, holy shit. What are you doing, Justin, making me think of Triple H pinning two baby faces?
That would have been epic.
You know, I didn't know Kyle Ross in 2004, but I can imagine. I could see you driving there with the matches in your hand. Yes.
That was actually, it's funny. I don't quote unquote mark out that often for matches in the modern era, but God, I remember just chopping my buddy. What a waste of mark out that was that night. But, as for the match itself and comparing it to WrestleMania 20, maybe, I think we've talked about this on the show. I don't love triple threats in the sense that they're all kind of work the same. It's two guys doing stuff, one guy laying around. This one, there wasn't as much laying. Yes. They worked it in a brisk pace. I thought Michael made a great point when they went immediately to the Uso interference to like immediately remind you it was no DQ.
Mm-hmm.
And that did catch me by surprise when it started. I was like, whoa, okay, we're right into that. But yeah, it felt like anyone could win, I guess, the whole time. There were arguments for everyone. The video package was tremendous ahead of time. We mentioned it last night. The promos on the Go Home SmackDown were great. All action. I can't complain. This was a very good match. Don't know if it was as good as the main event from night one, but very, very good to great nonetheless.
Mike, we got you back.
Yeah, we'll see how long this lasts. I've never had this happen. My entire internet, at midnight after WrestleMania, my whole home internet went out. So I'm connected to my 5G on my iPhone right now. So we'll see. But no, it was. I think comparing the two main events is weird because they're so different in scope. But I did think that just a lot of everybody got, as I like to say, can we cuss in this show? But everybody got their shit
go
in.
Ahead, do it. Yeah.
Everybody got their shit in, right? So I just thought it was just a great. Daniel Bryan had his spot, the fun moment with Edge and him both holding onto the crossface. Edge's character, like his character work, cannot be spoken highly of enough. His facial expressions, the mannerisms he delivers in these matches. He came back as a fully formed actor wrestler, and I think that's really showed up in some of the slower moments in these matches, and I really appreciated that. So yeah, just loved it. I dug it, man. Dug it.
That's a great point about his acting because you definitely see that improvement, I think, from his previous run for sure with the facial reactions. Yeah.
I could do without conflicted Edge though. That's always been like when he's just so stunned and he's so psychotic. He has no idea what to do anymore. My God, these kickouts. I can't live with myself. So I think the Edge dynamic is something we should touch on before we move to any other match. It's fascinating, and we talked about this in real time when they pivoted, how they turned him into a heel or tweener for this match, especially when you view it against the backdrop of the crowd reaction tonight. The crowd clearly, I know Alter Bridge, we all love Metalingus. I mean, what a song. Huh? Mm-hmm. But, the crowd popped for him as, that he had his things. I'm fascinated that WWE internally felt this guy as a baby face, with his backstory going against Roman, that wasn't, that midstream decided that wasn't the way to go. And they went with this 3-way.
Can't you about guarantee that was Edge's choice, though? That he wanted to bring a little bit more to it than just, white meat baby face? I would about guarantee that he has the power to say, hey, I want to be a little bit more of a tweener in this.
Well, he does. He's been in creative meetings. Yeah.
He had ideas for what to do when it was just him and Roman, and they weren't very good, to be honest with you. I heard
from what you've been told.
Yeah. Yes, I heard one, and it wasn't good. What I was told. So Vince actually was the one who came up with the idea for the 3-way, and people were kind of like, "Yeah, I don't know." But the alternatives kind of didn't have a leg to stand on, and that's how we wound up there. I just think, what do you guys think if they had just done Edge as they had brought him back versus Roman? Better, worse, the same than this 3-way idea?
I probably about the same, to be honest. I think you look at it on the surface and you think you add someone like Daniel Bryan to it. The crowd's going to be there. You get the yes chance. It adds a little bit of hype to it. But we've talked a lot about Daniel Bryan in the last few months and how he hasn't been pushed as like a big factor on SmackDown whatsoever in months and months and months and months. So getting him in this match, it felt I mean, even after Elimination Chamber, it still kind of felt odd that he would get that opportunity. But he's Daniel Bryan. I mean, he's a living legend at this point. So now looking at what happened, though, I think probably could have just done Reigns Edge and it would have been about the same, to be honest. What do you think, Justin?
I think it was a lot more impactful having him pin two guys at the same time, especially the two guys that he pinned.
Yeah, that's true. If the goal all along was just to get Roman over,
yeah,
pinning two guys is better than pinning one, isn't it?
But he's already this dominant champion for months and months and months. Yeah, Michael.
I think from a storyline perspective, I think you're right. It was weird, right? Elimination Chamber was a weird pay-per-view. The finish there was kind of awkward. Edge's tweener character never felt quite right because people love him and they wanted him to win. But you look at the way Vince McMahon and WWE always books their WrestleManias. They always want to book multi-man matches and they always want to have as many names in the marquee as possible, right? It can't be a tag team match. It's got to be a 4 corners match, right? And so adding Daniel Bryan, I think in their minds, gave this match that extra lift that maybe Edge on his own didn't do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you know what else they love doing, Michael, is they love kind of confusing the audience, like making it harder to guess what's going to happen. And I think bringing Bryan into the equation did accomplish that, where it's like, well, here's this 3rd way we can go now instead of just, either or. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was better or worse. You're right, Ryan, when you said, it's probably the same. I love Daniel Bryan, so it's always great to see him in a big time match. But yeah, it was a very good match, and we'll see where they go from there.
All right, so let's talk about the open to the show before we go any further. So, how can I put this without cussing too much? So you start the show. Okay, I think all of us probably thought going in that you were going to have the women's Raw title match be the opening, right? Because last night, they did the WWE title match first, SmackDown's women's last. I figured they reverse it. You do the Rhea Ripley Asuka match here. And so, I have 2 daughters. My 5-year-old doesn't really watch wrestling, but she likes watching the women wrestle. I showed them the Bianca match this morning. They went crazy for it, right? So she was pretty pumped as the show started. And then it's going to be the Fiend thing. And I never in a million years would have thought that was what they would lead off with. Not just because it's not the hottest character right now, but also just because it's kind of an adult storyline, right? I mean, the Fiend is not great for young kids. It's the first match of the show. You go back to the Attitude Era, and even during that era when it was Crash TV on Monday Night Raw every week, they saved the most edgy stuff for the second hour of the show every week, despite pushing the envelope. They didn't really do risque stuff in the first hour. So in this era we're in now, where it's like basically PG wrestling, they put the Fiend on first. It seemed really, really odd to me. Also, because you would think like you put the Fiend out there when it's dark out, like darker out. I don't know. Like the first match of the show, this was bizarre to me. So I'm saying like, I don't, to my 5-year-old, I don't think you should be watching this. And I'm trying to get her out of the room.
A little good parenting, huh?
And then when that happens, my 2-year-old wanders in and she looks at the screen and she sees the Fiend and she busts out crying and screaming for my wife. And I'm like, great. What a fantastic way to start WrestleMania. And I'm like yelling for my wife to come get the girls and stuff. I mean, not just from the perspective of the storyline is absolute dog shit and you're leading off WrestleMania with it, but just from like a broadcasting perspective, you know, why are you putting that out first? It doesn't make any sense from like a match layout perspective that that's your first match, you know, and then you follow that with a heel versus heel tag team match that has no heat. This is why this show, which was very good through the middle, was digging out of a hole, because they started off so bad. Like nobody that has watched wrestling, I don't care, man. Some people might come after me for this. If you have watched wrestling for any period of time, I don't know how you can think this Fiend stuff is any good. It is freaking awful television. So to actually be in the meeting backstage,
it's not good, Ryan.
It's not good at all. To be in that meeting backstage and to be talking about the layout of this card and to say that that should go on first, how in the hell does that get put through from all of those different angles? I don't get it. And then look, it didn't get a great reaction from the crowd.
Nope.
Big shocker. The crowd booed. The Alexa Bliss thing was freaking terrible. I mean, it's one of those things where if you're watching that and someone comes in that doesn't watch wrestling, you're like embarrassed to be watching this. What the hell is this? This is freaking awful television. And I wanted them to write off the Fiend so bad when that was over. They did the whole disappearing thing, whatever. I am so over it. It's terrible television. It had no business leading off WrestleMania from a number of different perspectives. Kyle, so you raised your hand. You're
something? Hot.
I am hot. It's awful.
You know what's funny is I tend not to get as excited about things that over-deliver as a lot of wrestling fans. Maybe we saw some of that last night. And similarly, I don't tend to get as upset about things that stink like this because I knew this would stink. Believe it or not, I thought the match itself was not as horrible as I was fearing it might be. Now, the finish was absolute 189% cow dung. Hideous. Yeah. Horse manure. Yes. Pig shit. Whatever you want to say about the farm, that was it. Yes. You talk about being embarrassed. That Firefly Funhouse song has to go. When it was on, I heard my wife like kind of walking down the stairs. I started tapping my foot on the ground really hard, being like, please let this be over. Please let this be over before she comes in. Because that's with the song and Alexa was skipping. It's very embarrassing.
It
is. Also,
it's horrible.
I agree with a tweet Lance Storm had. I know some could think Lance might be a stick in the mud, if I could be serious for a moment. But what do you think about entrant number 1 comes to the ring, then we go to the video package? I don't like that at all.
No.
He criticized it. I thought he was spot on. Speaking of tweets I agreed with, Zach Haydorn, who was on the show last night, he had a tweet that, the one thing that no one wanted out of this match was for this program to seemingly continue. That's like the one thing that could have made it worse. Like,
yes.
But finality is all we were looking at. We could hope for out of this deal. And, maybe Randy Orton's out of the storyline, I guess now, but this wrinkle of, is Alexa, does she control the Fiend? And now she's like, she created this monster and now she's going to like rule him. It's just horse manure. And that finish is so bad how he just stands there looking at the black goo and he, eats the RKO. That's it. It's like such a weak finish. And we should mention the red lights. Very bad.
I can't believe they did that.
That's the
worst. Red lights. Yeah, the goo dripping down Alexa's face because everyone's like laughing. It's just freaking awful.
Yeah, I mean, this finish didn't get over. We should also mention Michael Cole. This made me laugh. A box-like structure That's like the most WWE-esque speak ever from Michael. And then it was a Jack in the Box like structure later in the show.
Yes.
So, I mean, just I was howling at that. As far as this match opening, because I know you were hot about this. Look, I didn't have my kid was already up and in bed here in the Eastern time zone. As someone who, has her in the room while I'm listening to the Jim Cornette podcast, I don't really think I should be giving anyone parenting tips. By the fifth fuck, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. She hears me say it anyway. We'll keep rolling with it. But, I guess you could have reordered everything. And I'm not saying this should have opened. They probably should have had one of those middle 3 matches open, I guess.
Oh, it's an easy fix. It should have been the IC title match. Big E is the hometown guy. It's in Tampa. I know he lost.
Well,
but still,
not that finish.
Yeah.
I still think you open with that, though.
Okay.
I mean, this finish? Or what did this finish do?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you open with this. Big E gets the big pop to start the show. Yes, he loses, but you think you're going to get, a fairly good match out of the two of them. I think that's it. And then you're putting on Orton and Fiend at like the 5th spot. You could even you rearrange that a little bit and done Rhea and Asuka and then this or this before Rhea and Asuka. Either way, but I just think you have to move it back in the show. It just doesn't make sense from. It's the most pushy thing on the show. It's still fairly early across most of the United States. Of course, they've been pushing themselves as a child-friendly product now for years. And
I think you're taking that a little too personal from that regard.
No, I don't. I think it's bullshit scheduling, and I think anyone that books television should know you're going on at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock across the country. Why would you put that on first? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't think the Fiend is that scary.
Well, you're also 40 years old.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, even I guess, but I don't
think
know.
the original Fiend when he first started, not so much, but this mask thing he's wearing now was in the hype video showing all that and stuff. I mean, for young children, it is pretty scary, even though the storyline's scary for those of us our age, but for other reasons. But one more thing, the other problem with this is the whole Peacock thing. Because, ordinarily, if I was watching this on the WWE network, I would have paused it and then I would have fast forwarded when it was over or something like that. Can't do that because we've got a streaming app in 2021 that you cannot pause and rewind or start from the beginning when a live show's on. Awesome. Thank you so much, Vince McMahon, for your greed. Terrible service. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say now. Hold on.
So many issues with this.
I think as far as it going on early, going on late, I think you had to be. Look, I think the big solution to this problem is this is a program that should not have been booked in the first place. I think that's the easiest way out of it.
Well, it's not a hot program. So why do you lead off with that? I mean, just from all the other stuff, the parenting stuff, the kids stuff, the time. It's the opening match of WrestleMania. Yesterday we had the show rain delayed. And we had to wait 45 minutes. Now everyone's rearing to go, and they put the Fiend out there, which is like the storyline with the least amount of hype this side of Tamina Snuka.
Yeah. Who apparently is improving. People were behind her. We can get to that in a little bit. But I think, look, again, it goes back to my point of this is just bad. Because here's the problem. If you put it on later in the show, you risk killing the crowd off for the rest of the show. I think by putting it on early, it's just it's over. And you got a stream of good matches and, people kind of forget about it. Of course, they had to then replay a video package in the middle of the show, reminding you of it, which I thought was odd.
Well, so if that's the theory, why did you follow this with the tag match too, which obviously wasn't going to have any heat? I get what you're saying. And that it kind of worked because by the middle of the show, I was definitely getting into it, but it took me a while to get into the show, like an hour or so before I was feeling it.
It's interesting because we talked about this last night, right? That, they couldn't open with the women's title with Asuka and Rhea Ripley if they were going to do the women's tag second. Again, I don't think you should be making concessions for that women's tag regardless, but they're not going to open with 2 women's matches. I guess they could have shuffled everything around, whatever. But, for a long time in WWE, they did open with kind of the crappier matches from 98 to 2000. It seemed like, I want to say WrestleMania, in the Attitude Era, the openers sometimes were some real dogs. Remember that hideous battle royal they opened with at WrestleMania 14? But again, that's just a shitty battle royal. It's not like some like god awful storyline they've been pushing for months. So I don't know. No matter where they put this on the show, it was going to suck. And that's ultimately the problem. To be honest, if this match would have gone on first, if it would have gone on 5th, if they would have put it on next Tuesday, it would have absolutely reeked ass.
It would have. There's probably no saving it.
And you talk about parenting, by the way. Did you explain to your children at any point about the old white man in the pirate suit that opened the show?
No.
Okay.
Oh man. All right. Let's move on from that one. And honestly, the tag match, I don't really have a lot to say about. I mean, like what I said, it didn't make any sense to have these two teams going at it when you should have just done the Riot Squad, a babyface team that some people are behind that want to see get an opportunity. Instead they do Tamina and Natty, veterans, but two heel teams. Like, they did their best to get the crowd behind them, and it worked a little bit. Like, the crowd kind of got behind them by the end, but no real heat. Two bummer of matches to start the show, I thought.
To me, the most interesting thing about this match is, I mean, the rumor mill is swirling around this match right now, because the rumor is that prior to the match, Nia gave no indication that she'd let Tamina body slam her. And when Tamina did actually body slam her, completely tore both of her bicep muscles. Unbelievable. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the rumor.
Are they going to do a rematch either in Atlantic City or maybe just go at it at the Silverdome?
They've got to. They've got to.
Hey, Tamina did compare her and Nia to Hogan and Andre once on Twitter, so there you go. Ryan, you had a really good comment yesterday, and I just wanted to reiterate it about the NXT tag division and how there's this effort to, brand the teams or make it kind of seem like they're a team and just not this thrown together mess, and how that was really apparent during Tag Team Turmoil last night. I actually thought this was better than Turmoil last night. I thought that Turmoil match was just so atrocious, but
it was, yeah.
You think back to that and you watch a little bit of this. Becky is apparently on her way back. Ronda reportedly on her way back. Man, there's like a real sharp dividing line set to form in the WWE women's division of the haves and have-nots. You'd think to a lot of those people that were in that Turmoil match last night, good luck not being fodder for the next 11 months. I mean, you got about 6 to 8 women who are legit top women in this company. The 4 that were in the title matches the last 2 days, Charlotte and Bayley, didn't work. And then the returning Becky and Ronda. These other people, good luck getting many wins.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't weep for them either. I know that's going to sound really harsh, but I just think there's a lot of JTTS right now in the WWE women's division.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously they retained. Not much to say. Zeus kind of pointed that out too. He said after all this stupid stuff to build up the storyline across 2 days, just to have them retain. Yeah.
I like Shayna though. I was happy to at least see her get a tap out win over.
Yes.
Natty.
As you guys have already pointed out about the faults of this tag team match, the thing that I can't wrap my head around is the amount of time they got, considering it was just thrown together and kind of two hodgepodge teams. They got 15 minutes compared to like the next 2 matches that I think we all really liked. Didn't even get 10 or barely.
Second longest match on the show. Second longest match on the show. Yeah.
That makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah. I know some people are going to say, the crowd is popping a little bit and, whatever, but come on, man. Nobody really cared.
Couple of things I want to point out. Number one, Michael, you mentioned a second ago, his internet was cutting in and out. He's not going to be able to return. Just DM me. So sorry about that, but just wanted to have him on while he was here. Maybe we can get him back on in the future. But thanks, Mike, for joining us for a little bit. And then as you see scrolling on the video right now, we're thanking our patrons of the show. We had a new user join our Patreon during WrestleMania tonight. So yeah, shout out to Camille, who has been a longtime supporter of our show. He's always pushing our stuff on Instagram. Very much appreciate him joining the Patreon page. And he joined at the tier to take part in our book club and our monthly Zoom hangout. So hopefully we'll be talking to him in the next couple of weeks. If you want to support the show find out how to get bonus content, join us on those Zoom calls. The book club, we're doing Death of WCW right now. We will be having a patron-only question and answer session with Mr. Bryan Alvarez when we finish up, which should be a lot of fun. Check out patreon.com/Top Rope Nation. You can find the link right here in the description of the video or the podcast, wherever you're at. So thank you for your support. As always, patrons. Let's, this is where the show really started turning for me. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, despite the involvement of Logan Paul, who thankfully took a Stone Cold Stunner from Kevin Owens. These guys, they had a pretty good match. It wasn't the best match Owens and Zayn have ever had, but they were both amped up, especially Owens. He was hyped for this thing. We didn't get Kevin Owens coming off the pirate ship, but still had a solid match. And this is where I start, because I like both of these guys, where I started to get back into it a little bit. What did you make of this match, Justin? I should throw it to you first this time.
Missed a little bit of it because put my kid to bed. A kid who had pointed to my TV during the opening match and said "scary."
See,
and wanted me to change the channel.
Yep.
Really dug it. This was the moment when I started looking at the match times, because it just felt to me like they had another 5 minutes in them at least. But obviously they went almost exactly 5 minutes shorter than the women's tag team match. Love the match. Really good match. Nice little callback to their Battleground match, which even shockingly JBL mentioned when Sami went for the haluva kick and then held Kevin Owens like he was going to go for another one. And, that led into the barrage of super kicks. But those two guys have great chemistry, and I was really looking forward to this match, and I think it delivered.
Yeah.
I was in tears when JBL referenced that match. That Battleground 2016 match is very interesting in the sense it's one of the very few times in the modern WWE that a mid-card match, for lack of a better term, was allowed to go all out and kind of steal the show. Like, that was a very good match. It's very well regarded among the cage matches of the world and whatnot. This did not hit that high, in my opinion. But, like Justin said, they weren't given a ton of time. I thought they did a good job with the time they were given. It was worked fast, like a sprint. I know, kind of trading big moves and kickouts isn't for everybody, but I think this is the way, especially after those first two dogs, that mid-card matches should be worked in WWE, at least more of them. I thought there was a funny moment on commentary with Corey Graves correcting Michael Cole on the Michinoku driver, and Cole saying, the internet's already been all over me all weekend, which is funny. We should mention, I didn't notice this last night. Shame on me. Michael Cole filling in for Tom Phillips on the show. Tom Phillips, I think, had COVID, somebody reported, or at least,
really?
Or they thought he might. He's in protocol.
He was in quarantine.
Okay, quarantine. So that's why Michael Cole did the play-by-play on every match. So, a tip of the cap to Michael Cole doing extra duty this weekend. I guess we should say that. And then, look, Logan Paul is not someone I like. He's actually from nearby Westlake, Ohio. Not far from where I grew up. As much as I don't care for him, I thought the bit at the end of the match with the stunner and how they milked it was great.
Yes.
And he actually did his job well, kind of like playing stupid and oblivious to the whole thing. Like, the crowd knew he was going to get stunned. That was very well done.
Yeah, considering, as much as I didn't want him involved in the match and all the different ways they could have used him, I think we got the best case scenario.
Yeah. Kevin Dunn or whoever really liked showing him sitting there watching the match. Somebody tweeted some real Pam Anderson WrestleMania 11 like energy from Logan Paul here.
He was like completely out of it.
Anyone who hasn't watched WrestleMania 11, and by all means, do not make it a point to watch that show. It's a very bad WrestleMania, easily one of the two worst ever. But like, Pam Anderson is sitting there in the Diesel Shawn Michaels main event. My God, did she want to be anywhere else in the world than at ringside? Yes.
Yeah, I like the ending. I thought he took the stunner pretty well.
He did.
Yeah,
better than Vince McMahon at MSG in '97.
Also, Logan Paul just got the crap booed out of him from the beginning. He came out, through it. They talked about him being the big YouTube star. I know he does have a massive following, but wrestling fans don't seem to like him too much.
Good.
So Yeah. And then following this, all right, so we get the US title match, which, boy, I don't know. This one and the main event are pretty close for match of the show. I probably go with the main event, but I mean, this was right up there for me. I really, really liked the US title match with Sheamus and Riddle. I thought that they both went out there kind of balls to the wall. There's a couple blown spots at the end with Sheamus looking to hit the white noise off the top.
You know, that might have been for the best. Not to do that.
Dangerous.
Woo! I mean, who the hell wants to take a white noise off the top rope, man?
I was getting a little nervous as he was setting it up, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was a hell of a match. I really, really enjoyed that. You know, I was actually watching this show with my father, who doesn't know a lot about Riddle. And I was kind of telling him his backstory and how on the podcast we pumped him up, you know, as a guy who could be a game changer, a main eventer for WWE. And they've kind of made him into a dweeb now. And I was telling him all this right as he comes out. And they had a great match. And I'm like, see, this is what I'm talking about. And we joked about how are they still doing the thing with the birds? My God, who backstage thinks that that's a good idea? But they're still rolling with it. They're still rolling with it. Yeah. But it was a good match, man. Hard-hitting match. Both of these guys worked their asses off. I enjoyed it. I mean, this is one I might watch a second time, to be honest with you.
Totally agree with you. Love this match. I guess the winner, I'm a little disappointed, and I don't understand how it's 2021 and Sheamus just won a United States Championship at WrestleMania against somebody, like you said, we're very high on and could be a big player in this company going forward for a long time. The trade-off for me is that, like, I don't really want to lose that finish. Like, I love that finish. So, like, I'm okay with Sheamus winning just because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And my big question coming out of this was, considering he is an IC title reign away from being a quote-unquote ultimate Grand Slam winner, is Sheamus kind of underrated?
I think he is a little underrated, to be honest with you. I mean, he is a solid wrestler. He doesn't really have, you know, like that personality aspect to be like a top tier guy. They've certainly given him runs trying to do that with him. But I mean, the cliched, he's a good hand statement certainly applies here. I mean, the dude will have top-notch matches when you give him the opportunity to do so. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, he's a very good, consistent mid-card wrestler. And some people think that's an insult. It's not at all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he has trademark spots that kind of always get over. You know, like the beats of the Bowery or whatever. That always gets a reaction from the crowd, whether he's a babyface or a heel. So, yeah, I think he is very underrated. I feel like I wasn't surprised by the finish simply because Sheamus had put the work in since he came back. You know, I don't know what's going on with Riddle outside the ring right now. You know, I think he's heading into a court of law pretty soon. So they probably just wanted to take the title off him for that. But yeah, it was very good. Very hard-hitting match. I can't believe I wrote this in my notes. I actually laughed at the segment with RVD and Khali beforehand. I mean, usually those segments are really bad. You know, the thing is, you observe Riddle, and when you get a feel for Vince McMahon after you watch his TV for so many years and decades, Riddle is totally playing to Vince McMahon with this character.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good or bad. Because
Vince loves it. He thinks he's funny. Thinks he's hilarious.
Like that's the thing. It's like if you're Riddle, you're like, okay, well, I can still be on TV if I do this, but like, you know, the jokes are generally not good. That was incredible. You know, we talked about it on the show previous, you know, when he just walked off when he forgot his line. And how incredible that was, that made error. Yeah. Well, apparently the story was that it was a pre-tape. Vince saw it and just thought it was funnier than whatever he was going to say anyway.
Of course he did.
Fuck it. Just keep putting on the TV. And what does that say for your stupid scripted promos that a guy just, you know, saying, yeah, I forget what I'm going to say and walking off is funnier than your scripted promos?
Oh, man. I guess it's not too funny, but yeah.
that ties right into what, you know, you guys were talking, what you guys were talking about night one at the very beginning with the unscripted promos. Like, let this stuff be unscripted, you know, let things just happen.
Yeah, and again, this is the way mid-card matches, a brisk pace. You know, again, we can argue, yeah, maybe you want this to have more time, but this the previous match and the next one, man, that's kind of how you want your mid-card to flow in the World Wrestling Federation.
So Justin mentioned the Grand Slam thing. I can't remember if we talked about this last night or not, but AJ Styles is now a Grand Slam champion in WWE. And I believe, he is the first person to achieve the Grand Slam in both WWE and TNA. How about that?
What an honor. Speaking of that match.
Wait, hold on. Are we moving on from Sheamus Riddle? I got one more thing on it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify with everybody, and I got to be me. No, it did not start raining again during that match. That's just two of the best sweaters in the biz.
Yeah.
Yes, the trademark.
Sorry.
Great to have you back, Justin. Great to have you back.
There was another tag match from last night, not the AJ one. I just wanted to touch because, the next thing on the show was this Bad Bunny plug for his 2022 tour coming to a town near you. Triple H handed him a vibrator, I believe.
Evidently, that's what it looks like.
But, we were talking about this match last night and how odd it was that Bad Bunny got so much of the match, right? Like he played face and pair and everything. Meltzer reported at his show that apparently, and I think we had thought maybe this was the case or had been talking before. Priest had a bad back in that. So like that actually made sense, a little more sense how that match was worked. I just wanted to bring that up because there were injury, because remember, it wasn't going to be a tag at first.
Dude, that's even more pressure on him to think about it. This guy making his debut and like you're going to have to carry the bulk of the match because he's got a bad back.
Yeah.
It makes his performance maybe even more impressive, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they should have come out together. That was a point I wanted to make on last night's show when Priest got his normal entrance and then Bad Bunny got the spectacular entrance. They should have come out together, playing to the point I was making about how Priest really needed the rub and to go on to be a big star to make that whole ordeal work.
You certainly didn't come out of that match thinking of Damian Priest as a big deal. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Apollo and Biggie, the Nigerian drum fight for the Intercontinental Championship. This was pretty predictable just because these guys have worked so much over the last couple of months. It's like they can't beat them again, right? So of course, Apollo Crews defeats Biggie in the match. Brief. 6 minutes and 50 seconds, less than half the time that women's tag got, by the way, which is kind of mind blowing. But
6 minutes?
6 minutes and 50 seconds.
It didn't feel like that short though, which is okay.
Yeah.
Just adding minutes on doesn't make a match better.
Yeah. It was nothing to write home about though. I mean, they again, like I talked about at the beginning, they had the hype video where they drew the comparisons, or I guess I should say point out the fact Biggie growing up in the Tampa area and everything. And that was cool.
That was a great pre-tape from SmackDown, I thought.
Yeah. But, in the end, Apollo got the victory. Kyle, not a big fan of the Apollo Crews character.
I don't know how anyone would be. It's a terrible dead end gimmick. I
can't say I'm a fan of it. At least they're doing something with the guy. But,
like I said, I agree with you. They gave him a character.
I'll tell you what, it's better.
That is definitely true.
Better than the Fiend.
It's better than the Fiend. I'll give you that. So let's not bury the lead here. Apparently, a repackaged Dabba-Kato is now affiliated with Apollo Crews. He came in and helped him win the title. So I think Biggie is just a much better professional wrestler than Apollo Crews. I don't really think there's any debating. I think he's leaps and bounds better. I feel a little bad for Biggie for what I said before. I think when the New Day was first broken up, I think he even said this on like The Bump or Talking Smack. He's like, oh yeah, they kind of he alluded to like some big plan that they had for him and stuff. And you got to wonder what that was, quite frankly. I don't think it was losing to Apollo Crews in a Nigerian drum match, but that's a different story for a different day. But I see the booking mentality here of putting the IC title on Crews. You give him this gimmick, and if you beat him again here, like what the hell do you do with the guy? Like you can't justify keeping him around almost. I mean, if he would lose in his first quote unquote big match under the gimmick, and Biggie was protected with that loss. So maybe he beats the big guy. He beats Dabba-Kato, whatever his name's going to be, and then he moves on to Roman.
Well, and the other thing the babyface Big E gets is some sympathy, losing in his hometown via interference from a monster.
Yeah. The Booker T in Houston treatment.
If it's the old days, Vince would have came out and he would have to pucker up being in his hometown.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I guess they wanted you to forget that the big guy was on television recently and Raw Underground and all of that because nobody knows who he is. Yes,
yeah, that was kind of lame how Cole and Graves had to pretend they didn't know who he was. Like,
also not a great look. Are we okay with the kind of the pseudo military look?
No, it looked more like bellboy than warlord. African warlord, I thought. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think, wrestling promoters, unfortunately, since the beginning of time, when they think of the continent of Africa, it's either tribal or sympathetic to South African apartheid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But really, really would like them to, freshen up on their history and, have more of a progressive view.
Maybe you can join my class. We'll talk about that.
At least the Botswana Beast did not make an appearance.
Yes. All right, let's wrap up here. Women's title, Raw Women's title. Rhea Ripley, a year after they did her dirty at WrestleMania 36, taking on Asuka, who has not had many title defenses over the last several months. So I can't say that the hype for the match was great, although at least online, like a lot of people wanted to see Rhea Ripley get this moment because of what happened last year. And I'm one of them. I was horrified at what they did with her after she came into 2020 with so much hype and then had her lose to Charlotte with no follow. And she's worked her way back up to get this opportunity. Definitely not as good of a match as what we saw in the main event last night, but that's pretty high standards. Definitely not a great musical performance as Rhea Ripley came out. Although, as Justin pointed out in the group chat, the visual was pretty sweet when she came down to the ring on the ramp with the 8K camera with the smoke and everything. So
keyword
that was
being
cool.
Visual. Nothing with the ears was good about that entrance.
Yeah. That was rough.
And I gotta say, like, it seemed to me watching it, maybe I have to watch it back, it seemed Asuka just seemed a little off during the match. It seemed like she was kind of working a little slower than she normally would. I don't know if you guys saw that at all. It just seemed like the match it wasn't really clicking. It was almost like in slow motion to me watching it. Happy with the finish, glad to see Rhea Ripley get that moment and everything, but I didn't think it was much of a match, to be honest with you. Justin, what did you think?
Maybe a little bit higher on it than you guys. For me, the problem is, the build going into it. The investment was all based on Rhea Ripley losing a match last year to a completely different opponent. And so the entire thing was just, you want to see Rhea Ripley win. And a large part of that is because Asuka's title reign has been very meh. Nothing against Asuka. She's fucking tremendous, but she's been booked pretty horribly for the past year. So it was almost like the ending was predetermined, and all of us, including those in the match, were just kind of ready to get there.
Yeah, I exclaimed, damn it, because when Ryan brought up the Asuka thing, somebody else noticed that, and they said maybe she had got knocked loopy or something earlier or something. And I can't find it now, and I'm very upset about that. I apologize. But
yeah, there was a moment when she was on the mat late where it seemed like she was kind of out of it. Yeah, just like you said. And at that point I was really noticing, like, yeah, she just seemed a little off, moving a little slower than she normally does. Because like Justin said, she's awesome. We're big fans of her and everything. It just seemed like something was off in this match.
Yeah. So what Justin said about where the heat in this match was and how that doesn't really translate to fandom, he's spot on, because and Michael Jenkinson had an interesting tweet or a Facebook comment in our group when he was talking about, he's like, yeah, I'm not really into this Rhea Ripley. I don't watch NXT. And, that's a comment that people could just jump on a guy for. And I told him I respectfully disagreed. But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, they didn't do a great job really, explaining Ripley's story here, right? Because like Justin said, she was avenging a loss sort of to somebody else. If you do follow her and you're like, okay, this is someone who's got star written all over, that's nice. I don't think that was conveyed well on TV. I mean, she just came out and pointed at a sign, and that's how the match was made.
Ugh.
The babyface heel dynamic here wasn't really there. Like, I think Ripley was kind of the subtle heel, but again, like Justin said, everyone kind of wanted her to win. And those are matches that are always death in front of a live audience. And we were getting late. They redid the Hall of Fame inductions right before this, didn't they?
Yeah.
This felt flat. It really did. And it's going to be interesting to see how Ripley is positioned moving forward.
Yeah, who do we think she's going to feud with? So Zeus was in the chat saying, do we expect her to go into an immediate program with Becky? I mean, I don't know. I think that Io Shirai is going to be coming up soon, but I don't know that you would go to that right away. So hard to say. I honestly have no idea where they'll go with her right now.
I don't know either. Charlotte, when Charlotte comes back, I think, because that makes a lot of sense based on, the match that we talked about. It's kind of the elephant in the room going, that's quite frankly.
Should also mention really quick. So we talked about last night how selfless Sasha Banks is, because she put over Bianca, which was really what they had to do, but Sasha's never won at Mania. Here's another instance. Asuka has never won at Mania either.
Lost a combined 0-10.
Yeah. Lost to Charlotte at 34, 35. I think she was in a battle royal last year. The Kabuki Warriors lost. So also, two of the great women wrestlers of this era never won at WrestleMania. Both did the right thing here this year, putting over the up and coming stars and everything. And, it should work out well. We'll see what the follow is. But selfless as well. Yeah,
like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the turmoil, this is the other end of the spectrum, or the tag team title match, not the turmoil. The booking of the two women's title matches, doing the title changes, you're strong on top, I feel, even having the brand split moving forward, you've got 6 to 8 big, kind of attractions, between the two brands. So I think you're in good hands. It's tough over the course of a year with, having it split, but if you've got 4 top stars, I think you're okay on a brand.
Yeah. So that was WrestleMania 37, night 2. So if you didn't hear our night 1 review, go back into the archives, whether you are on YouTube or the podcasting platforms. And of course, check us out on social media. The show is at Top Rope Nation. You can find me at Ryan Droste. That's DROSTE. Kyle's at TRP Kyle. Justin is at Justin Joint, JOYNT. We'll be back real soon. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of our shows, make sure to subscribe, whatever podcasting platform you're on. We're available everywhere. Podbean, Spotify, of course, Apple, wherever podcasts are found, topropenation.com, and the YouTube channel. Subscribe, help us out, youtube.com/topropenation.
Acknowledge us.
Acknowledge us. That is right. Join the Facebook group as well, the Facebook discussion group. I think I mentioned it earlier, but search Top Rope Nation Pro Wrestling Discussion, or you can find a link right here in the description of the show. Justin, good to see you. Glad to have you back on the show. Kyle, thanks for surviving 2 nights with me here this weekend, watching a lot of wrestling and doing that flu pod thing again.
Here we go.
Glad you're vaccinated, buddy. One step closer. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Appreciate your support. We'll talk to you again real soon. Take care.